What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Wiz Talk with Chase. I am your host, Chase Coburn. It's been a little while since we recorded, but it's safe to say a lot has happened with Washington Wizards basketball. An opportunity to get the number one overall pick. Instead, you fall to the worst possible scenario at sixth overall for the Washington Wizards. So a year where they would hope to maybe get their number one, their franchise player. Maybe they will not end up with that kind of player. However, according to Chase Hughes, only very rarely does the number one pick end up as the top player from each draft. We had Chase Hughes on here from Monumental Sports Network a few months back. Very credible journalist. So, what does that tell you? That means that there is a perfect opportunity for the Washington Wizards to land some star talent at number six. I think there are five players that could fall to number six, and then players I think the Wizards should possibly take at that position. We're going to go through all five players, kind of their scouting report, what to expect from them, and if the Wizards were to take them, how they would kind of be added on to this team. While also addressing some rumors and how maybe that pick would change the foundation of this Washington Wizards roster, if that does make sense. And by the way, I'm sure you guys are seeing it. We do have a new logo and a new intro for Wiz Talk with Chase. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump in as we preview or kind of break down some of the players that Washington could take at sixth overall. You saw the new intro there. Really excited for the summer. I'm really excited for some great Washington Wizards basketball talk. Five players I think they could possibly take at sixth overall. Starting off, Knappel. He's a player who, forward from Duke, he could have very easily fallen to six. If we did this a month ago, he would have probably been projected to be sixth or seventh overall. Instead, now some people have him in the top three. At most people have him four. So is he going to fall to Washington? He definitely could. He's definitely worth talking about because maybe it's just some hype as of late for Knappel, because we still are a few weeks away from the NBA draft. Just what can he do well? He's an efficient shooter from 3-point range and from the free throw line. He did those things really, really well last year with Duke and obviously helped them. He was a key contributor on that Final Four team. And I think the key thing with Knappel is we know he can coexist with other ball-dominant scorers. I mean, he played with Cooper Flagg, who was going to be the consensus number one overall pick, apparently that franchise player, that franchise talent. He was one of the best players in the country last year, and yet Knappel was able to play alongside him on the starting lineup, starting all 39 games as a freshman, made 48% of his shots from the field, over 40% of his shots from three, ACC best 91.4% from the line with 14 points a game and 4 rebounds, as well as 3 assists and a steal. So that's what he can add as a freshman, all ACC player. That is the type of guy he is. And I think that the fact that he could coexist with a guy like Cooper Flagg is huge, because at sixth overall, again, if you're the Washington Wizards, you're probably not expecting your long-term franchise player to come here. It definitely could. You never know. I mean, you saw Nikola Jokic come in the second round. You never know where your franchise player is going to come from. But if you don't feel you're going to get your franchise player at number six, Knappel could be a great player to take, because we know that he can play next to a number one player and next to a ball-dominant scorer that the Wizards would eventually want to have. And then he's 6'7", 216 pounds. He could stretch the floor while also adding an interior presence. And I think that build and that height really could make him, or could provide some defensive potential long-term. Here are some things I don't like about him. He's not very athletic. And I think that's very much goes along the lines of different than Corey Kispert, but also along the lines of Corey Kispert, can create his own shot. Really just needed star players around him for him to succeed. They need to get him the ball. He's gotten better in those categories as he's gotten older. Corey Kispert for Washington, he was able to get a decent extension from the Wizards this past fall as well. But just in the sense of your ceiling is only so high when you can't create your own shot and you're not as athletic as your peers. And I think that's the case with Knappel. So I think if the Wizards are going to take him, he will be a spot-up shooter. You can count on him to shoot 40% from three consistently at the NBA level. You can count on him to get you some points. There's a reason why his pro comparison is Bojan Bogdanovic. I think if you're the Wizards and you take him at sixth overall, he is very much a low ceiling, high floor type of guy. I don't expect him to be a bust. I think he'll be a rotational player for years in the NBA. I don't ever see him, though, becoming an all-star, that type of player, just with his skill set. So if I'm the Wizards at number six and he is there, I don't even know if I want to take him, because I would at least want to take someone who I think has a lot of raw talent. They've done that already, whether it's been with Alex Sarr, Bob Carrington, or Keyshawn George, adding A.J. Johnson, their 4 first-rounders from last year, 4 first-rounders on the roster from last year. And they're all very raw talent with the potential to grow. And I don't see the Wizards going away from that motto. It's what worked with Oklahoma City, and that's where Will Dawkins came from. So I don't expect that to change whatsoever. And I don't think Knappel will even fall to the Wizards at six, but even if he does, I don't know if he's the right guy to take there. So if the Wizards draft Con Kneppel, I would be kind of feel the same way I did about Corey Kispert. It's like, all right, sure, he'll be rotational, but I don't think he'll ever really reach the potential of some of the other guys that the Wizards could have possibly taken with that pick. I want to talk about Jeremiah Fears. Currently, out of all of these guys, he's the only guy the Wizards have hosted for a pre-draft workout, which is huge. Guard from Oklahoma. He's a shifty playmaker on the pick and roll. He attacks the rim with strength, physicality, tenacity. He's one of those guys. He's just like, he's going to attack you. He's going to score the ball at will. He's played in the biggest moments. He played really well down the stretch in the SEC tournament. And he had a game winner this past year against Michigan. So he's clutch. He knows how to win. And he does have shooting potential. But the problem with Jeremiah Fears is a lot of that shooting potential is very raw talent, because shooting-wise, he was 27.5% from three last year. He has a poor shot selection. He's not a great decision maker, and he needs the ball. And I think that's one of the things I do not like about Jeremiah Fears is that I don't think Jeremiah Fears is going to be the number one player on a championship team. I think he could be a very great contributor. His pro comparisons on Yahoo Sports are Jamal Murray and Jordan Poole. I think that makes sense to draft a guy like Jamal Murray or Jordan Poole. Neither of those guys can be number ones. They definitely play supporting cast roles on their team. I think Jamal Murray is a great comparison just because he's clutch. He attacks the rim. Guy has no fear, can shoot the ball from the outside, but he's got to develop that shot as well. At the same time, he can't really develop into that number one player. I think that if you're a guy like Jeremiah Fears, going back to the part of needing the basketball, I think if you're the Wizards, you do not want to draft a player at 6th overall if you don't think he's your franchise number one guy that demands the basketball. Jamal Murray doesn't demand the basketball, right? He can coexist with a guy like Nikola Jokic. If Fears isn't as much of a playmaker or facilitator and he needs the ball, you're putting a lot of risk into the hope that he will improve his three-point shot. And mechanically, in different situations, the three-point shot has been there, but when you see 27.5% from three at the NCAA level, there are glaring weaknesses there. So I would not be mad if the Wizards drafted Jeremiah Fears. I think he's a great scorer. I think he plays with a lot of tenacity, which I love, just a hard, rough, and tough guy. And I think he is very clutch, and I think you need a guy like that, like Bub Carrington was this past season, who you know can hit the shots when it matters most. Because I think in the Wizards' close contest, their biggest problem was outside of Jordan Poole, you want to see kind of your future shot maker down the stretch, and they didn't really have that guy down the stretch, maybe Bub Carrington towards the end. So if Fears can be that guy and he can provide that scoring potential, I love it. And I do think he will fall to 6. So I would not hate if the Wizards took Jeremiah Fears. We'll continue to break this down over the next few weeks before the draft, but I do not dislike Fears as a prospect, but I think there is a lot of risk when you're drafting a guy like Jeremiah Fears. But of course, I mean, none of these guys are perfect, and I think he provides a lot of scoring potential for this Washington team. At center, Duke, we could see 3 top 6 picks from Duke. It's Maluach, the center, freshman this past season. He's a great rim protector. He has elite potential. He moved better than most his size. I mean, he's 7'2", pretty decently large guy. He moves pretty well, which could kind of provide some defensive versatility in that way. He finishes looks near the rim with a soft touch. He shot 71% from the field last year. So I think when you just see that, you know he can finish at the rim. You know he could be a loud threat. He's just a hardworking, rough and tough guy, and he uses that 7'2" frame as a major asset. Where he is weak is he is a project with a lot of talent, but patience is required. He didn't play basketball, guys, until his teen years. So, he still makes a lot of dumb decisions. He can't really create his own shot, and you oftentimes get in foul trouble. And that kind of comes with the decision-making part. If you're the Washington Wizards, you got to say, look, you drafted Alex Sarr. Do you want another big man? That's going to be the question about whether you're going to take, Maluach. That's going to be the question. Do you want to add another big man next to Alex Sarr? Because Alex Sarr was one of the best rim protectors in the entire NBA last season as a rookie, and just in terms of blocks per game. So do you want another rim protector like that? I think when you look at a guy like Kaman Maluach, a great comparison for him is Rudy Gobert. And Rudy Gobert is the type of guy where he can't really create his own shot, can't work on the perimeter, but he can finish looks on a lob next to an incredible, fast, quick, great scoring guard. And he's great on defense. Obviously, Rudy Gobert is a 3-4-time defensive player of the year. Is he ever going to be a 3-4-time defensive player of the year, a future Hall of Famer? I don't know. I mean, even with that, Rudy Gobert has never really been a number one. It hasn't been a champion. As a number 2, we didn't get to, he got, I think, to maybe one conference finals. So, right, do you want a guy like Kaman Maluach at this kind of pick, at the 6th pick? And the biggest worry I have with him is that he has great rim protecting potential, but yet the stats didn't really translate to that last season. 1.3 blocks. He doesn't get a ton of rebounds. It's like it's there, but he's not using his abilities properly. At least he didn't in college. And he can still 100% grow. He was a freshman last year. But if I'm the Wizards, you can either say, look, let's make our, front court one of the best in the NBA, one of the best rim protecting front courts in the NBA. Or you could say, look, let's move in a different direction. Let's try to get some guards and forwards who could just put the ball in the hoop. And at 6th overall, I would personally go that direction. So I wouldn't take Kaman Mulliwatch, but it will definitely be interesting to see if the Wizards would want to pair him next to Alex Sarr. 2 more players, both guards. Trey Johnson's been kind of the hot pick, the sexy pick for the Washington Wizards, if you will. Okay, do well. He's an incredible ball handler, a great shooter. He can work off the ball, just great off the ball movement. He has potential to be an elite point guard and facilitator. We see him make the go-ahead passes. He's great in transition. Again, very quick, which is obviously part of that. And he's clutch. He's an ice in his veins type player, as Yahoo Sports describe it. He kind of has that it factor, and you want a guy like that if you're going to want a guard who could play like that. Just like a lot of these guys in college, his shot selection oftentimes leaves a lot to be desired. And he's not a great defender. Though I think those 2 weaknesses, shot selection is a common weakness for a 19-year-old freshman. And not being a great defender at the point guard position isn't that big of a problem because oftentimes the backcourt aren't even that great defenders anyway. I think if you're not drafting Trey Johnson because of what he can do defensively, you're drafting him because of what he can do offensively. And if you have faith in the offensive talent, don't worry about the defensive part, I guess, is my philosophy. Look, Trey Johnson's the hot pick, but the Wizards are going to have to do something if they want to get him on the roster, because right now they have too many guards to begin with. If you're going to draft one more like him or VJ Edgecombe, where we're going to talk about next, you're going to need to make some room. And obviously you'd want to make room for a guy like Trey Johnson. Personally, I compare him to guys like Ray Allen just in terms of his shooting, but also like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's got a long way to go defensively to be a guy like Shai, to be an MVP type guy like Shai, but just in terms of how quick he is, how he kind of has some sort of that playmaking potential. He reminds me a little bit of Shai, and I think Ray Allen's kind of the hot comparison as well. So Trey Johnson is kind of like you have to draft him if he's available for the Wizards at 6th. I've kind of heard that. He probably will be available at 6th overall. Or they could try to go VJ Edgecombe, who I know a lot of people would also like as well. I don't know if he will fall to 6th. Pro comparison, the best one I could think of was like Victor Oladipo. I don't love Edgecombe, to be honest with you. I mean, he could shoot the 3 ball well and walk contested. I think that's a big thing. He doesn't need to have the open looks. Like, he can kind of play with some pressure and some pressure in his face and things of that nature. He's very athletic and shifty. He's a fearless, tenacious player attacking the basket, and he could play one-on-one defensively, but he's inconsistent defensively. He only made 25% of his threes off the dribble last year, which makes me feel concerned about his shot selection and how he can create his own shot. So I think when you look at a guy like VJ Edgecombe, you say to yourself, look, he could be a future decent point guard. I don't know if he's a great enough facilitator. And personally, I don't think Edgecombe will even be available. He's a very high floor player. He's going to be a good NBA player. Personally, I wouldn't even take him if on the Wizards at 6. I don't think he fits what they're trying to do, but I don't even think he'll be available. I think the 3 guys you could definitely count on being available. Not definitely, you never know what can happen, but I think Malawatch is going to be available. Johnson's going to be available. Fears is going to be available. And I think it would be shocking if Kneppel and Edgecombe both don't go in the top 5 alongside Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, and Cooper Flagg. So if you're looking at the Wizards at number 6 here, kind of on the outside looking in, you're looking at probably 3 players. You're looking at Trey Johnson, Kaman Malawatch, and Jeremiah Fears. And so then the question is going to become, if you're the Wizards, do you want to draft a guard or do you want to draft a big? Because if you want to draft a guard, someone's got to go. You got Bub Carrington in there. You got A.J. Johnson in there. You want to get those guys playing time, and you have Jordan Poole. I don't see how the Wizards get all of these guys playing time, if you want me to be honest with you, because if you are the Washington Wizards, you need Bub and A.J. Johnson to get that playing time because they're both raw talent, and you need them to just play and try things out at the NBA level to see what they're good at, so then you can then make an assumption of what you want to do with them in the future. You also have Marcus Smart on this roster, who, when you have him on the roster, you want him playing games because he can really provide some stability defensively for this team. So those 3 guys got to stay. So eventually, someone's got to go. And we've heard the Jordan Poole rumors about him possibly being traded have been heating up, and some people are like, it's all bluff. I don't think so. I think Jordan Poole could very well be traded, and I'm not saying it is the right decision, but to me, if you draft a guard at 6th overall, you got to let that guard play. Now, I mean, Trey Johnson and Jeremiah Fears, you want both of those guys on the court if those are one of your 2, or if those are your 2 options at guard at 6th overall. So something's got to go. You're either going to have to trade Jordan Poole, or you're going to have to not draft a guard, or you're going to have to let go of Carrington or Johnson, which I don't see them doing because they seem so highly invested in those 2. So that's that's the game plan. And I think if you're Jordan Poole, you have to look, and we're going to talk a whole episode on like what would be the value for Jordan Poole and stuff of that nature. But just be aware, if the Wizards do take a guard at 6th overall, that probably means it's predicated around the fact that Jordan Poole has either already been traded or he will be traded pretty soon, because you simply can't fit 5 people in a backcourt who all need to play. And eventually they're going to have to make some sort of change. And I think at 6th overall, Trey Johnson and Jeremiah Fears could both be starters. If anything, you want them as the first. If not, you want them the first guy off the bench. And right now with that guard room, that's just not going to be able to work. And Fears and Johnson are both smaller guards, so they don't really have much flexibility in terms of if they could be a forward or not either. So bottom line is you're going to have to play them. And if you draft one of them, someone's got to go in this guard rotation. Overall, those are the 5 guys, but I really think the core 3 that you got to watch out for are Jeremiah Fears, Kaman Maluach, and Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson from Texas, Maluach from Duke, and Fears from Oklahoma. It will be interesting. We'll continue to break down the draft. We'll look at some trade opportunities, both for Jordan Poole and also just elsewhere for the Washington Wizards, of where they could go this offseason. Obviously, we'll talk about free agency once we get there. And the Wizards do have another first-round pick this year at number 18 overall, and we're going to talk about what they could possibly do with that 18th pick. A lot of coverage and more coming up on Wiz Talk with Chase. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. Again, those are the guys I think the Wizards could possibly target with their first-round pick in the 2025 draft in the coming weeks. Thank you guys for watching. Signing off, I'm Chase Coburn from Wiz Talk with Chase.